Hello there. This is Gemini Radio, the space where souls who've walked through heartbreak find the true voice of their hearts again. Tonight, I want you to sit still for a moment. Breathe slowly and just listen. Because what you're about to hear isn't just another love story. It's a wave of energy moving toward you, calling your name beneath the night sky. There's a truth waiting to be spoken. Someone who once swore they'd forgotten you has finally broken down beneath the weight of their own feelings. And if these past few days your heart's been stirring for no clear reason, it's not random. It's the first signal of a confession, sent through the space between two souls. Let me take you back to where it all began. To the night everything cracked open and the truth began to shine through. That night, they broke down in front of their friends, as if the strong mask they'd worn for so long shattered in a single breath. The words slipped out between tears. Without Gemini, I'm a mess. It wasn't just a confession from a broken heart. It was the sound of an ego collapsing after being held too tightly for too long. For months, maybe years, they pretended to be fine. They smiled at parties, spoke about plans that never included you, and painted their days with a thin coat of confidence to hide the empty room inside their soul. But when pride finally crumbled, they faced the simplest and most painful truth of all: no one after you could fill the space of the self that once came alive only in your presence. You might not have realized it, but that energy has already reached you from afar. A sudden flutter in your chest, a song from the past playing out of nowhere, a dream that felt half awake, half asleep. None of it was random. It was the invisible call of a soul that has just learned to fear your silence more than its own loneliness. That night, their tears weren't just for losing you. They cried because they finally understood that the peace they kept chasing in the world had been resting quietly in your eyes all along. And you, Gemini, the one with the heart of air, you've always loved through curiosity, understood through reason, and forgiven through kindness. You thought their absence would erase everything. But no, it only opened a brighter layer within you. Truth never arrives with thunder. It comes in still nights, in moments when you look back and realize you've grown softer, wiser, lighter. Now, as the universe brings them to the edge of awakening, you stand on the other side where light begins to widen its reach. Don't turn away and don't turn back. Just stand still in the wind, the way Gemini always does. Because in the very moment you lift your gaze to the sky, the wind will carry this story into a new chapter where your voice becomes the guiding light, not just for them, but for the new you that's being born. Sometimes, in the middle of an ordinary day, you just stop without knowing why. An old song drifts through the radio. The scent of coffee passes by, stirring something you thought was gone. Or maybe it's the afternoon light, falling gently across the window. And for a moment, you see a shadow of someone you once knew. You weren't searching, yet they appear in your mind like a breath of invisible wind. That's how the soul speaks in its own language. Not loud, not logical, just a feeling. Soft as smoke, but real enough to make your heart tremble. For Gemini, the soul rarely sleeps. You sense the subtle signals that others overlook: a number repeating 3 times, a dream without a face, a message that appears and disappears before you can read it. They're not coincidences. They're pieces of a conversation that exists beyond the physical world. And when your mind grows quiet, you begin to see the pattern, a map of energy guiding you toward a truth that still waits to be spoken. Somewhere deep inside, they feel it too. Maybe right now they're looking at the same sky you are, without even knowing it. Maybe they've just played the same song, feeling the same ache, the same longing awakened by the silence between two souls that once touched. The world, from the outside, seems separate. But between souls, there are still hidden roads where thoughts meet like smoke brushing against candlelight. So, Gemini, don't rush to dismiss these strange little things. Sometimes the universe sends signs not to pull you back, but to remind you that true connections never really break. They only change form, they shift shape, and they lead you to a deeper layer of understanding. Listen with your heart, it's the most accurate instrument you have. And then, in that quiet stillness, as you begin to accept that every soul moves to its own rhythm, you might start to notice something else unfolding. Not about them, but about you. A subtle movement, like the wind changing direction, like the mind finally letting go of the need to find answers, so it can start to see the greater truth waiting to be understood. Fear often wears the mask of logic. They once believed they were choosing the safe path, a life untouched by deep emotions, a life that didn't depend on anyone, that stayed comfortably at the surface. They told themselves walking away was the right choice, that Gemini would eventually forget, that what they felt was just a passing wave. But last night, when the final layer of their defense collapsed, they saw the truth. Every explanation they ever gave was nothing more than a thin shield, built to hide the greatest fear of their life, the fear of real love, the fear of being truly seen, the fear of letting someone touch the most fragile part of who they are. That fear had kept them wandering in circles, like someone lost in fog trying to control emotion with reason, pretending to be fine, while quietly cracking inside. They didn't know that the more they ran, the stronger your energy became a mirror that reflected everything they tried to avoid. Because the love of a Gemini is never loud. It's quiet, steady, and so real that no one can lie to themselves for long. And when they whispered, "I chose fear instead of love," it wasn't just a confession to someone else, it was repentance to their own soul. In that moment, something aligned within them, heart and mind, after years of fighting each other, finally met in the same space. For the first time, there was no argument between logic and feeling. They missed you not out of habit, but because your memory had become the only truth they still believed in. And that truth, though late, carried the warmth of hope, because sometimes it's only when a mind breaks open that light can finally enter. Gemini, when a soul walks through its fear, it never comes out the same. They begin to crave honesty, to live truthfully, to love without calculation. You may not be there to witness it, but the universe sees it all, the trembling hands clasped in prayer for the first time, the apology typed and erased over and over. And maybe right now, as you're hearing these words, they're learning how to face themselves with the honesty they once ran from. Every soul must walk that passage where fear melts into awareness, and awareness turns into light. It's a journey no one can skip, and no one can promise. And while they learn to breathe again in the middle of their chaos, another current of air is already moving, the one that carries your name, Gemini. Awakening on the other side, where the dawn of truth is quietly breaking. In the quiet moments when a Gemini's mind finally settles, the universe leans toward you like an old, gentle teacher. It places a hand on your shoulder and whispers, "Don't chase. Don't rescue anyone from the lesson they need to live through themselves." That message doesn't arrive like thunder. It comes as a thin beam of light, the kind that only appears when you stop long enough to breathe and realize you no longer have to prove your love by staying. Gemini, you once loved like the wind wherever you went. You carried warmth, and everyone you touched felt seen. But now, it's time for the wind to learn stillness. True peace isn't found in someone choosing you, it's in you choosing to stay centered, even when the world around you doesn't answer back. Keep your heart open, but don't lower your standards. Love with compassion, but don't lose your boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they're doors that know when to close, so that light only enters when someone has learned how to knock. The universe is teaching you the art of less, but deeper. When the time comes to speak, say only what matters, not to win, but to reveal your truth. You deserve respect. You deserve partnership. You deserve someone who walks beside you, not behind you. The mature soul in love doesn't speak from impulse, but from clarity. Remember this. Gemini, don't send a message out of anxiety. Don't lower your voice out of fear. Don't use loneliness as a reason to return to the place where your heart once broke. Don't be afraid of the empty space, because it's there, in the quiet, that you finally hear the voice within the voice that knows your worth. When you stop rushing, love slows down too, just enough to catch up with you. This world isn't short of people who want to be loved, it's short of those brave enough to love consciously. And through everything you've lived, you're becoming one of them, someone who can love without losing themselves, who can hold boundaries and still be gentle. Soon, within the stillness you've chosen, something will begin to shift, not outside, but within you. Your breath grows deeper, your voice softens, and your faith begins to shine with quiet certainty. Because when a Gemini learns to stand still in the wind, the next miracle of the journey always unfolds silently, steadily, like a door opening into the next layer of light within your soul. Peace always comes before the reunion. Not the kind of silence that pretends, not the quiet born from resignation, but a real stillness inside your chest, the kind that feels like your heart has finally stopped waiting for someone else to give it answers. That's when your energy starts to realign. Each broken piece finds its place again, forming a new picture you didn't know you were painting. And then, very softly, life begins to send signals. A random call, a text that seems accidental, a face in the crowd whose eyes linger on yours, just a moment longer than a breath. Every coincidence then becomes the language of the universe. Gemini, you will know when the frequency matches. No need to guess, no need to force, because the sacred never arrives through chaos. It appears only when there's space for it to rest inside you. When peace takes its place, you no longer wonder who will call, who will remember, or who will return. You simply live, breathe, create joy with your own hands. And in that exact moment when you stop searching, the energy that belongs to you finds its way back. They may appear in the simplest way, a short, honest message, a soft hello that carries truth instead of charm. No more emotional loops, no more games of control. Only someone who steps toward you with steadiness, with accountability. Someone who doesn't need to own you, who doesn't ask to be saved. Their words may be few, but their actions speak clearly. Their eyes move slower now. They listen deeper, like someone who's walked through a storm and finally understands the value of calm. And you, with the intuition of a soul that's matured, will feel it. The vibration won't make your heart race. It will make it open, peaceful, grounded, clear. When both of you speak from the same frequency, not desire, not fear, but understanding and responsibility, distance dissolves on its own. There's no rush. What's real always returns in the right moment, with the right person, in the right way. The universe arranges every meeting to its own rhythm, a rhythm reason cannot touch, but the heart can trust. And sometimes, just when you're walking slowly through the late afternoon light, believing nothing is about to happen, a door opens as gently as the wind, leading you towards something both familiar and new, a conversation not between two people, but between two souls who have finally finished their lessons and are ready now to step into a brighter chapter of their journey. When an old chapter closes in silence, Gemini steps into their own field of light, a place where the echoes of the past fade away and the air fills with the quiet breath of clarity. This is the moment when your mind begins to clear, and the thoughts that once tangled now find their rhythm again. You feel it each morning. The sunlight seems warmer. The wind brushing through your hair feels like a whisper saying, "It's time to rise, not to run, but to fly." Right now, the universe is turning the wheel of destiny ever so gently, opening doors you once thought were locked forever. Maybe it's a project you hesitated to start, an idea tucked away in a drawer out of fear of failure, or a dream you believed was meant for someone else. Now is the time for Gemini to open your mind, your heart, and the sky above you. Each time you dare to act, your inner light glows a little brighter. Every time you learn something new, step outside your comfort zone, or release an old belief that once held you back, your frequency rises, and life begins to bloom in unexpected ways. Growth for Gemini doesn't come from knowing all the answers. It comes from learning how to pause and observe, from focusing deeply without clinging to results. It's the art of detached focus. Like planting a seed, you don't sit and watch it sprout. You trust that the soil, the sun, and time will do their part. When the mind lets go, energy becomes lighter, and that lightness draws what you truly need closer to you. The universe responds in the subtlest ways. You'll notice new people entering your life who feel familiar souls that understand you without effort. Opportunities will appear from unexpected corners. A simple conversation might open a new door. Every coincidence, every sign, becomes a small bird guiding you deeper into the expansion of your soul. Gemini, as you lift your vibration, the thread that once tied you to the past is being cleansed of its static. If that connection was truly of the soul, it will align again, not through pain, but through resonance. And if it doesn't return, it means your lesson is complete. Either way, you've won, because you chose the light. And when that light begins to radiate from within you, it doesn't just illuminate your own path. It shines for others, too, guiding every wandering soul that crosses your way, reminding them that peace isn't a destination, it's the way we choose to walk each day. There will come a moment when every silence you've lived through finally finds its voice. Not loud, not dramatic. Just a simple conversation, two souls who have walked through storms, now sitting face to face. Not to win, not to justify, but to speak the truth. And in that air, soft yet charged with honesty, Gemini will realize the question was never who's right or wrong, but who's mature enough to look into their own heart and say, "This is me." No masks, no armor, no fear. Love, at this stage, is no longer a race of emotions. It's a return to yourself, a return to the truth that never left your soul. When that conversation happens, I see it clearly, two paths, both leading to peace. The first is reunion, but not the kind that reopens old wounds. It's the path of two people who've learned how to say, "I'm sorry" with depth, who can take responsibility for what they broke, and who now prove not with words but with consistency that they deserve a new beginning. If that door opens, rebuild it slowly, with patience, with kindness, and with real light. The second path is closure, but not the kind that cuts through pain. It's the gentle bow of two souls who finally understand each other's value. It's a quiet thank you that doesn't need to be spoken, only shown through softened eyes and a heart that releases without resentment. When Gemini chooses to close the circle, it isn't an ending, it's an opening. An opening to new frequencies, new people, new chances ahead. A space where love is no longer a test, but a sanctuary where you're free to be yourself. What matters now isn't the outcome, it's the way you live through each day. The standard for Gemini is no longer built on promises made in passion, but on clarity daily, simple, unwavering. True love isn't loud, it doesn't rush. It moves like water over stone, steady, transparent, strong enough to travel far, gentle enough to nourish. And in that still, luminous place, you no longer need anyone to complete you. Because you've become the proof yourself that when you choose truth, truth chooses you in return in its own way, in its own divine timing, and with the tenderness you have always deserved.